Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're gonna talk about Event Video Coverage Toolkit. So let's dive right into it. Now, basically, what happens if you ever go on an event where you want to take coverage of it. In those sort of scenarios, this was my first experience. This was the first time I had the experience to quote unquote hands-on on an event. Now, event was from 23 to 26 March, IIT Kanpur Techkriti 2023. That was the festival that I had to cover. Now, there was a bit of a problem. The campus is huge, and yes, this is a whole map, and yes, this is the size of a multiple village. And I'm not even joking. Techkriti head office, basically where things are happening, that to event ground where things will happen, that was 2.5 kilometers. Not even joking. It's like, dude, what the hell? Like, it's huge. Like, there is a basically metro station. So the moment first day I went there, I was like, okay, let me just figure out, is the metro station accessible? Like, can I go there and all that, just figure things out, how much it's going to cost. I went there, I looked at the entrance gate. I was like, oh, dude, this is going to be super easy. Because my hotel to metro station was super close. So I was like, done. I entered here, basically the metro station, and then I had to walk for kilometers, miles, and then I reached to the main point. Again, this whole area, every student is very fit. Why? All of them are riding bicycle. All of them, all the time. They have to. So it was huge, freaking huge. So that was painful for my legs and shocking for my body, but it was what it is. And it was my first time ever I actually got an opportunity where it's like, bro, come here and capture it, whatever you can do. And I got to capture these things. Basically, there was a lot of competition. I have linked the album down below. You should check it out. And these people, what they are doing, basically, there was a game where you had to drop golf balls in a fixed location. And engineers from Boeing were there as a monitoring agent. So some people, to reduce their basically RC plane's weight, they removed the landing gear and they just yeet it with hand. Like, this guy literally looked like, when I was actually watching it, is doing a ball throw, basically like how a cricketer does that. It looks very amazing. Again, images high resolution down below. It was quite amazing. First time. Now, I suffered a lot. Now, suffering came from 2 points. First, I was stupid. Second, it is huge. So did I mention it's huge? It's huge. So that's the two primary reason for my suffering, but I learned a lot. And this whole video is just my way of telling you, or my future self, where it's like, if you ever have to recover anything like this, where you have to be like, hey, this is an event, come here and cover it, it should be very easy for you, or at least less painful than mine was. So let's dive deep into it. So first step first, I have seen small YouTubers who had the luxury, because again, I live in the middle of nowhere. But if you are lucky enough, you live in a big place like, let's say, Delhi, Mumbai, things that are like, happening places. There is a very good chance every few months or every month there will be something that you will get the opportunity to capture. And sometimes there are unique things there. So people want to go there, people want to capture it. But I've seen one individual who literally had amazing thing out there. People are like, whoa. People are clicking the video. He spent a lot of money on the video setup. Awesome. Audio was horrid. I'm pretty sure either that dude was directly using onboard microphones or using shotgun. Thou shall not use shotgun in any event scenarios. Thou shall not use it. No. Just no. You do not go there and use a shotgun. You don't. So this is one thing you have to understand. And audio matters far more than the video. So if your video is not great, people will tolerate it if audio is okay enough. If audio is not good enough, people will not tolerate, oh, amazing 4K well stabilized videos. Like, no, bro, what's the point? I can't hear it. So that's why wireless lavalier becomes very useful in this sort of scenario. Now, can you use this with wired mic? Yes, but generally it becomes a hassle, not only for you, but also for the individual who's going to give you interview. In those sort of scenario, giving them wireless option makes them far more comfortable. In those sort of scenario, they will be far more open to you. They will be like, okay, I see what you're doing. So you have to understand, you have to accommodate them. It's not about you, it's about them. They are the focus of the show, or how in cinema world we call them talent. They are the talent, so you have to make sure they get the comfortable system. And whenever you are selecting any microphone setup, be mindful, these two are the popular one. There are also cheap ones also, but please make sure that all the transmitter have basically onboard memory for storage. Because here's the deal, I was very lucky when in the place I was doing, there was not too much radio interference. But sometimes you couldn't be in a place where these things was flat out not pair. But what the hell you will do at that point in time? Nothing. You will just record. Why? Because all of these can easily record on board. And like in Rode Wireless Go 2, you can do full quality, I think, for 6 hours, and at little bit lower quality. But be mindful, lower does not mean bad quality. Lower simply means it's not as amazing. Now be mindful, in this sort of scenario, clarity matters rather than the absolute awesome quality. Nobody's gonna listen in a theater room. So in those sort of scenario, having 24 hours of recording is more than good enough. So please, even if you are buying a third-party Chinese one, please make sure that it has, all the transmitter has onboard memory where it can store significant amount of audio recording. That will save your skin. Then camera gain. This is another aspect. Now, unfortunately, somehow entire human industry is not wise. So we have stupid things like, even though these transmitters receive the file digitally, they have the technology to transmit file digitally. They cannot do so unless there are some, like Blackmagic have some options, some cinema cameras have this option, but it's not a standard thing yet that you can just dump the file directly, digital file to digital file. So these things have to convert the digital signal into analog signal, transmit it through an audio cable, then audio cable goes into your camera. Now, problem with camera is camera have horrible technology when it comes to audio circuitry. So their audio circuitry, basically the analog to digital converter or ADAC that they have to have, that introduces too much noise flow. So make sure, no matter which camera you have, be it Sony, be it Panasonic, whatever the heck you may be using, try to make sure the gain on your camera is the lowest possible. And this puppy is screaming as loud as possible, because be mindful, two conversion, you want to make sure that at least one conversion is as low as possible. Otherwise, two medium one, the noise floor would be really, really brutal. So trust me on this. Just try to have your, like in my case, in my Canon 800D, I literally dropped audio to minuscule level, like almost off, then just one notch above that. So it's one of those things that you may have to experiment with your camera, with your setup. And again, there are some scenarios where you can have digital audio transfer and it bypasses any of that issue, but that's not a common function yet. So be mindful of that. Camera gain. So if you have camera gain cranked, no, crank the volume here. Do not crank the gain in your camera. Make sure the gain is as low as possible, and that's why all of these equipment have allowed transmitter power settings. So that's the reason for that. And generally, you give them a mic if they are not very comfortable. For example, if you have some individual who is like not very enforcing, is like, bro, I got this. So in those sort of scenarios, they may not be comfortable where it's like, dude, what the hell I'm to do with my hands? Because again, this is my job. This is what I do for like 5 years. I'm comfortable. I'm like, bro, camera, I got this. But not everybody would be like that. It does not matter whether their intelligence level, it does not matter their financial level. I have seen CEOs, and I mean some CEOs with some deep pocket, have trouble with cameras. Again, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just like that's not their quote-unquote domain. So in those sort of scenario, give them something to hold on to that seems to calm them down. And that's why you will see stick microphone which are wireless. That's the reason for that. Again, you can buy a stand for this also. So that will give them something. If they are not, if you can notice it, it's like, bro, I don't think they know what to do with their hands, just give them that. That will help them. And if they are professional, then you can just clamp it on and done. And again, if you give them comfortable position, they will work, for you. So that's one thing. And take your time and test this puppy. Trust me, especially when you're dealing with wireless system, they can have a pairing issue. All that thing is much better if you know beforehand. Because if you know beforehand, then the first thing you will do once the interview is over, you will try to dump the file from these things so you do not overwrite them accidentally. So these are the small steps that you can do, and it will make sure you have a very good audio, at least useful audio. And then apply artificial intelligence noise gathering. Like Adobe's AI noise reduction is really good. So that way you will have really clear audio. So that's the first step. Then we come to the video part. Now, video part is location dependent, meaning sometimes you have to understand this. When you are going this, you are going blind, because you most likely will not have any amount of actual control over the lighting. Some booth, some setups have really amazing lighting, a lot of lighting, but some, even though for our eyes, it may look like, hey, it's more than amply lit. For your camera, it may be like, bro, it's completely dark. Our eyes are really good, unless you have very real new camera. My camera is very ancient, so I was like, I can see it, but my camera was like, I can't see anything. So for that reason, you have to adapt and you have to be ready for it. So worst case scenario, because you may be like, what if I, narrow down the aperture? But if you have a lot of things that you want to show, that may not be an acceptable option. If you are like, hey, what if I slow down? You cannot slow down beyond your shutter speed, basically frame rate. So that is a limiting factor. What about ISO increasing? Again, ISO makes it noisy. So you may reach a point where the worst case scenario happened and you can't really crank any other value, any other vector, so to say. Then the last resort is go to 24 FPS. Ideally, you should never reach that, but if you do, that's the last vector where you can like, okay, I get stable image noise and all that jazz. It can be done. It can be. I'm just telling you, it's the last resort. You should never do it. But it's like, if nothing else is working, if the lighting is that bad or your lens is just not that good enough, you may have to do this. So it's one of those things. That's like red alert, but it can be done. Then you have image stabilization. In this regard, I messed up big time. Again, I relied on my own system and relying on my hands. While it's good enough, like if I'm holding like this, it's more than good enough. But here's the deal. When I'm trying to showcase things, yeah, it becomes gibberish. So at that point in time, either use a gimbal or have a monopod. Both of them will give you exponentially better result than just relying on onboard system. Of course, modern camera, especially with IBUS, does have better oomph in there, but do not expect magic out of it. So if you really are doing this and this is something that you may intend to do regularly, I would urge you to invest in gimbal. Yes, it will increase your hassle. Yes, it will increase your muscle load, but you should be able to survive and output would be tangibly better. And what lens to use, you have to understand when you're trying to do coverage, because again, generally they are space limited, so they will cramp everything together. So you may like wide angle lens, awesome. Problem with that, wide angle is really bad for human face. So if you do wide angle on human face, it will look like an egg. So you have to use tele. So this is the scenario where a zoom lens will work. The first lens of a zoom lens, I think 17 to 50 mm if you have zoom lens, or like 24 to 70. It's really useful for that. So go into 24, shoot everything, and then you have to focus or do interviews, zoom into 50 mm. That way their face will be a bit more squished. So it will look much more better rather than looking like an egg, bug eyes as we call it. It will be far more pleasant. So do not be like, okay, I'm gonna use prime. Again, you can use it if you have nothing else, or maybe you have to use prime simply because you have a prime that is bright. For example, let's say you have a prime that is f1.2. Yeah, I did not have to go to 24 fps. You could do that. Playlist linked down below if you need to check that out. So it's one of those things that you can do to smooth things over. That's the video part of it. You do not get to control lighting. The worst case scenario, if you really do not want to increase the ISO noise, you have maxed out all other settings, drop the frame rate so that you can get a bit more oomph in your time frame. Image stabilization, if you have very good image stabilization, that will make things far more better. Use gimbal if you can. If you can't use gimbal, use a monopod. That's the worst case scenario, but it still would be better than hand holding. And then which lens? Again, you may want to zoom in or zoom out depending on the situation. Do not be locked into one thing unless you are using a prime lens. So that's the video side of things. Then we come to the power. All of this camera, all of this gear, audio recording setup, none of them matter without power. So power is the backbone, and you have to sort this puppy out. So for camera, make sure, I'm pretty sure most of you have sorted, but make sure you have more than one battery. Like I have this LPE17. Canon is using this battery a lot more nowadays. So I think there are more than 5 active camera models that are using this battery. So have 2 or 3 of them, and make sure that all the charging system that you have to do, everything that you have to charge is relying on USB-C. Make sure of that. Now generally camera companies, because they are stupid, and again, till now, there are only few cameras that I can actually do USB-C charging, and they can do it fast enough. Most of the time, they will like flat out whoa slow. They're like, it may take 3 to hours or more to charge it. And if you have DSLR, God help you. In those sort of scenario, you may have to buy something like this. Like this is a USB battery charger. And trust me, again, this should not be necessary, but it is for some reason. And especially with DSLRs, you have to have something like this. I bought this. Basically, this is a Mark II variant. Unfortunately, I bought this in an emergency because my battery cradle, that AC charger, died. So I had to buy this, and this had micro B. Now, it was awesome when I bought it, and again, that was like, I think 2 years ago. So I did not thought of it that I ever gonna get a chance to, capture something that prestigious. So I did not worry too much about it. I brought this and I forgot the cable. Thankfully, the micro B cable is still not extinct yet. So I literally went to a shop and bought it for 20 rupees. So that does save my skin, but you have to understand, it should never happen. You should always make sure everything in your ecosystem is USB-C. You can buy this sort of system and this sort of battery chargers also. And this is awesome because again, you can put the battery in a cradle position, plug the cable, put it in your backpack, and you can still charge it reliably and safely. This design is a dumb design because again, that's it. That's all I have to do. So I really, envious of this cradle design. But again, if your battery supports this cradle design, get this cradle design. Even if the cost is a bit higher than this sort of stuck design, it's something that you will thank me for. So make sure everything has USB-C. And then we come to the another aspect, like what if you, instead of let's say instead of DJI microphone, you have this puppy, and this has USB-C. Problem is you have 3 USB-Cs that you have to charge. So buy a case like this. Thankfully, this case have become so popular that they are very cheap. Back in the day, started with the price was almost 50% of the price of this puppy. Now it's very low. So you can buy this, and there are many companies. And heck, there is one company that became so successful, they made Mark II of it. They listened with the feedback, because some of the cases have the issue that they may overheat these puppy. And again, if you are in Florida or India, that could become an issue. Again, I would urge you to charge this in a hotel room when it's air conditioned, and then just use them to top it off. So this will allow you to use this puppy without consuming too many USB power, and you will consume only one. Now, how do you charge everything? Well, buy something like, do not waste your time like I'm gonna have few adapters. Don't waste your time. One emergency adapter, one big daddy adapter. Now this big daddy adapter should be as high watt as you can afford, as in like 100 watt or 200 watt, and many companies make them. Select whichever you like. This is a U-grain variant that has like 200 watts of capacity, and it has multiple USB-C ports and 2 USB-A ports, meaning you can charge whatever the heck you want in one go. Trust me, this is the only way you can be damn sure where everything is plugged in one go. They're like, yeah, I have plugged everything. I'm gonna go to sleep and I'm gonna wake up and everything will be charged. So trust me, do not cheap out on that. Of course, have one backup emergency charger. And whenever you are selecting power bank, do try to focus that on the wattage, because again, you cannot exceed 100 watt hour on the aircraft. So if you carry a big ass power bank, they're gonna just take it away. They're just gonna eat it out of you in the airport. So please be mindful. Only buy something that goes 200, not cross 100. So that's why you will always focus. All the power banks are like limited to 20,000, even though they have a bit more oomph, as in like they can go to 27,000 milliamp hour. They generally lock themselves at 20,000. I have no idea why don't go to 27. This is a 27,000 watt order. And not to mention, this also has very amazing handshake technology, meaning it can handshake with every device. So it can fast charge your Samsung mobile phone, Oppo mobile phone, Vivo mobile phone, Hululu mobile phone. It can fast charge all of those things. So it is one of those things that you have to think about. How the heck you gonna charge it? How the heck you gonna charge everything in one go, in one place? Otherwise, I can guarantee you're gonna forget, oh, did I plug in that one? Did I charge that one? Did I not charge in that one? That's why. Invest in something that can charge multiple of it in one go. Do not skimp out on that. You will hate yourself. Trust me, on those systems. So that's the power end of things. Then we come to the data side. Now, if you have laptop, awesome. Most people may not have it. Like, I know majority of my audience don't have it. I don't have it, and I'm not gonna buy it. So it's one of those things that, what the hell you gonna do? Now, here's the deal. This is my personal hatred for all these 3 camera companies. They have been making digital camera for more than 20 years, Canon, Nikon, and Sony. None of them have figured out at this point in time that, hey, we have built an app. What if we allowed people that paid for our camera to use the raw files using the Wi-Fi links that we charged for? The company is like, what if we F the customer, You can't transfer the Wi-Fi. It's like, why? No, you just can't transfer. It's like, why? It's like, literally, I'm not joking. If in Sony, good luck if you ever get it to work. And most of the time, you have to use FTP transport. File transfer protocol is stupid. Like, it's super stupid. And not to mention, it's surprisingly slow. It's like nobody even sits down. And it's not be like, oh, it's Android problem. No, trust me, it happens in Apple also. As in like, again, the companies are not actually putting effort into that, which is shocking to me, given the fact that I'm pretty sure they must be aware of Adobe. I'm pretty sure they must be aware of Lightroom, and they must be aware that for past 5 years, Lightroom is available on mobile phone, while it can crunch actual raw file directly. It can take the raw file, work on it, dump it to whatever social media or printing press you have to. It's like, that's there for past 5 years, is already there. But this camera company is like, what if we F the customer? You can shoot, like in my camera 800D, Canon 800D is like a raw only option. I transport the files like original size or compressed size. I'm like, original size. Magically it becomes JPEG. It's really frustrating. So if you have a way of dumping file, you have to use it. Now, here's the problem with that. Even if somehow you have a camera, for example, Panasonic camera, that allows you to dump raw files and everything is fine, and you have a tablet, which is awesome, you still may have to, hit into the limitation that's very slow and consumes battery. At that point in time, USB-C card readers are here to save your life. And again, you may need to buy a new one, or if you have something like this, like how I do, this is a USB 3.0 card reader. It does work quite high speed, but it has basically USB B, type B cable, USB 3.0, and it has type A on the original side, but you can buy nowadays USB C to this. So you can plug this puppy into your mobile phone and dump all the file. If your mobile phone supports SD card, buy a big ass SD card. If your card that you are using on your camera is 120 gigabyte, buy something that can store around, let's say, 512 GB on your mobile phone. So that way you can dump all things and don't even have to worry about it. And this will, again, I can guarantee you, it will be much faster and you will get everything. And if you have using a camera that is single card slot, this is the only way where you can have some peace of mind that, hey, files is on my card, file is also in my mobile phone. And if you have cloud backup and you have good internet, that also gives you another peace of mind where it's like, hey, I'm dumping all the file into basically my Google Drive and I'm happy. So this is one thing that can save your battery life and also give you less headache. If you have tablet and mobile phone, again, in tablet you can do full editing. In mobile phone, again, some people are really good at it nowadays, but I generally use mobile phone just for filtering out. Basically, 1 star means I'm gonna delete it, 5 star I'm gonna keep it, 3 star is like, I think it may need a bit more love. So again, if I filter all of those out and I have hundreds of photo in one day, it saves a lot of time when I sit down on a computer and like figure things out. So it's a really, really useful tool. So that's how you can manage data on the cheap. If you have a laptop, then it's super easy. But if you don't, you can still use it. And be mindful, if you are not carrying the laptop that place, please carry the card reader so you can dump file periodically. Trust me, you're gonna thank me. So this was my presentation on basically how do you make a press kit, quote unquote, for coverage scenarios. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.